Joining this session. As the first speaker, I would like to invite Professor HUSNU from Niyaris University to deliver his presentation.
Good morning, everyone. Today, I start my lecture commemorating the 83 years of longing for our great leader and founding father of the Republic of Turkey, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk. May he rest in eternal peace. This is the title of my presentation. I will talk about the aromatic plants and essential oils of Cyprus. Cyprus is the third largest Mediterranean island with an area of 9,251 kilometers square, situated in the easternmost end of the Mediterranean basin. It neighbors Africa, Asia, and Europe, and it is 64 kilometers south of Turkey and 105 kilometers west of Syria. There are two mountain ranges in Cyprus. The biggest one is Troodos mountain range and the Pentadaktilos or Beşparmak Dağları in the northern part of Cyprus. And between these two mountain ranges lies the central plain of Mesoria or Mesaria Ovası, Mesaria Valley. And obviously it is an island and there are many beaches and very long shoreline. Most rivers originate from the Troodos range and are intermittent with a few perennial flow parts. The climate of Cyprus is typically Mediterranean with long hot dry summers and rainy winters, separated by short autumn and spring seasons, subject to unstable weather systems. In total, the indigenous flora of Cyprus includes 1,610 species or 1,738 taxa at variety level, while the alien flora includes 238 taxa. The endemic flora includes 108 species or 143 taxa. The National Forest Park of Troodos is the center for endemics, hosting 13 local endemics and 74 Cyprian endemics, while the whole Troodos range hosts 94 endemic taxa. The other important areas for endemics are Pentadaktilos or Beşparmak range and Akamas Peninsula with 56 and 44 Cyprian endemic taxa respectively. Some notable flora elements are the endemic trees Cedrus brevifolia, Quercus alnifolia, and the endemic shrub Bossia cyprea, which is a relic endemic of Tethys. The information on the flora of Cyprus can be found in these references. Michael wrote in 77 and 85 2 volumes of the Flora of Cyprus, which is a very precious book on the Flora of Cyprus. And Winey in 2011, an illustrated Flora of Northern Cyprus he wrote. It is also an important source. There are several other important articles if you want to know more about the Flora of Cyprus, which are here, but I want to focus your attention to the bottom one, the Flora of Cyprus, a dynamic checklist, which is on the internet and free of charge. You can easily use it and it's updated continuously. The families Asteraceae, Lamiaceae, and Apiaceae are important for the aromatic flora. And Anthemis tricolor, Asphodelus aestivus, Chenopodium murale, Helichrysum conglobatum, Lagoysia cuminoides, and endemic Origanum cordifolium, Origanum majorana, Phlomis species, several, Salvia veneris, Sideritis cyprea. There are many Theocrium species. Many of them are endemic to Cyprus. And Thymus capitatus and Zosima absinthifolia. These are the ones which we shall cover in this talk. Essential oils were obtained by hydrodistillation using a Clevenger apparatus, and the microdistillation using microdistiller or Eppendorf. And the analysis were done by the GCMS system, which is set up in our laboratories. And for characterization, primarily we use the in-house Basher library of essential oil constituents with more than 4,000 genuine compounds. Anthemis tricolor is the first species that we are going to treat. It is an endemic species of Cyprus. Essential oil yield is very low, 0.1%, and the main constituents are sesquiterpenes, Murola 4,11-diene, beta-caryophyllene, and germaclen D. Asphodelus aestivus flowers were subjected to hydrodistillation to yield 0.01% oil, which is rich in alkanes with hexadecanoic acid, pentacosan, tricosan, and heptacosan as the main constituents. Chenopodium murale is also a quite widespread plant growing in Cyprus. We collected from two different locations, the Irmenlik and Salamis, and the analysis were done by headspace SPME technique and GC and GCMS. And here, as you can see, the benzaldehyde and yomogi alcohol are the two main components. And the occurrence of yomogi alcohol, which is an irregular monoterpene, normally found in Asteraceae plants, was confirmed for the first time in Chenopodiaceae. Helichrysum conglobatum, subspecies Barrelieri, is an Asteraceae plant, and by hydrodistillation, it yields 0.01% oil, and the main components are characterized as beta-caryophyllene, gamma-curcumen, hexadecanoic acid, tetradecanoic acid, rosifoliol, and delta-cadenane. And this is the first study on the essential oil of this species. Sideritis cyprea is an endemic Sideritis species, and main components were found as epicubebol, transpiperitol, delta-cadenane, cubebol, caryophyllene oxide, mainly sesquiterpenes, but there are also some monoterpenes like alpha-pinene, beta-pinene, limonene, cuminaldehyde, and parathymine. The antimicrobial activity of this oil was also tested against Bacillus cereus, Staphylococcus aureus, and Candida albicans effectively, but not to Pseudomonas aeruginosa. And another sample of cyprea oil was in 0.5% yield, showed beta-phelandrene, beta-pinene, alpha-pinene, and epicubebol as main constituents. Lathyrus ocrus is a Fabaceae plant, and it is known as luvana and used as food. Fresh leaves are consumed in salads, and seeds are used as soap ingredient. It's poor in essential oil. And the main components were characterized as phytol, hexadecanoic acid, pentacosan, and the oil afforded similar DPPH scavenging activity as compared to alpha tocopherol. So it's an important antioxidant. There are several other Latirus species that we analyzed: Apaca, Ochrus, Cicera, Sativus, Gorgonei, Saxatilis, Blepharicarpos, variety Cyprius. By space SPME and GCMS, we analyzed them, and the main components are here. As you can see, yomogi alcohol appeared to be a main constituent in almost all of them. Salvia veneris is an important salvia species of Cyprus, which is an endemic species, and it yields 2%, 1 to 2% oil, and the main components are 1,8-cineol, camphor, camphen, alpha-pinene, beta-pinene, and 1,8-cineol in another oil, camphor. So 1,8-cineol and camphor are the typical constituents of Salvia veneris. And it has strong anti-radical activity, the methanolic extract of the aerial parts, and also antimicrobial activity has also been reported. Salvia veneris oil produced the highest fumigant toxicity at 1 milliliter per milliliter application, microliter per milliliter application, and against the store product insect, Cytophilus oryzae, Cytophilus granarius, and Ursophilus surinamensis. And it also showed almost 86% activity against acetylcholinesterase enzyme. Thymus capitatus, or the old name Corydothymus capitatus, is known as Tmari or Tulumbe in Cyprus. And in 3 locations we collected, the oil yields were quite high, and thymol was the main constituent in all of them. And the oil was recently found to inhibit Helicobacter pylori, which is the cause of gastric ulcers and stomach cancer. Origanum majorana, or sweet marjoram or mercan köşk, from 3 localities we analyzed, and cysteamine anhydrate and terpene anphorol, and alpha-terpineol and cysteamine anhydrate were the main constituents typical of the sweet marjoram. But the important thing is the oil yield of Origanum majorana of Cyprus origin was remarkable, 8%. This is really the biggest reported in literature, because the literature survey indicated the maximum yield of this species is 3% only. Origanum cordifolium is an endemic origanum species growing in the southern part of the island, and we analyzed it. The aerial parts yielded 0.2% essential oil with alpha-terpineol, borneol, parathymine, and beta-caryophyllene as main constituents. In an earlier study, similar results were obtained. Pimpinella cyprea is an endemic species from San Hilarion Castle, and it was subjected to microdistillation. And the oil composition was alpha-pinene, sabinane, beta-pinene, epoxy trans pseudoisoeugenyl 2-methyl butyrate 10%. This is a marker compound for the oils of Pimpinella species. In an earlier study made in 2016, It was also reported that farnesene, spatulenol, and R-curcumin and epoxysalvial 4,14N as main constituents. As I said, there are several endemic theocrium species growing in the island, and we analyzed almost all of them. And these are the results. Cyprium oil yield is 0.7%, Kyrenia 0.2%, Salaminium 0.6%, and the main constituents are in Cyprium, beta-pinene, alpha-pinene, and spatulenol, and in the others, beta-caryophyllene. Phlomis oils, we analyzed the oils of two Phlomis species, Phlomis cyprea, variety cyprea, and Phlomis brevibracteata, both are endemic in Cyprus, and beta-caryophyllene and Germaclendi were found as main constituents. This is interesting. Lagoysia cuminoides is an Apiaceae plant. It yields 1% oil, and the main constituent is thymol, 74%. In an earlier study from Turkey, we had obtained again the same yield, which contained 73 to 95% thymol. Therefore, this plant is the richest source of natural thymol. Zosima absinthifolia is poor in essential oil, and the main constituents are octylacetate and octylhexanoate. In an earlier study from Turkey, we had also found the same constituents. I would like to acknowledge my friends whose names are mentioned here. And we work in the Faculty of Pharmacy in the northern part of the island. If you're interested in essential oils, I recommend you to have a copy of this book. The third edition came out in August of 2020. It was edited by myself and a colleague from Vienna, Professor Gerhard Buchbauer. The book, the second edition, was awarded the ABC's Excellence in Botanical Literature Award. In 2 days' time, we start this 51st International Symposium on Essential Oils. If you're interested, you're welcome. And thanks for your kind attention.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Hüsnü Canbeşer, for your valuable presentation. And now a brief video, and then we will continue with our next guest.
Catching a bus, never nothing when it's really it does. I'm flying above, no nothing, no money, keep it coming, and I'll be saying something.
invite Professor Dr. İHSAN ÇALIŞ to deliver his presentation.
Good morning, everybody. I would like to thank, first of all, the organizing committee for their kind invitation to this Congress. I will share some phytochemical results from my own studies. The title of my speech is Results from the Phytochemical Studies on the LAMIACEAE plants from the Flora of Turkey and Northern Cyprus. I think previous speaker has already explained about the flora of Turkey and Cyprus, especially Cyprus. LAMIACEAE is one of the largest family in the flora of Turkey. In the world, there are approximately 7,900 species. In the flora of Turkey, it is represented by 46 genera and 782 taxa. Endemism ratio is also very high. Stachys, Salvia, Sideritis, Phlomis, and Ťoikrium are the largest taxa or species, genera in Lamiaceae family. In the flora of Cyprus, this family is also represented by 39 genera, of which Phlomis, Salvia, and Ťoikrium are the largest genera. Outline of my speech will be focused on some species selected from my own studies. They are Leonorus, Ayuga, Ťoikrium, Scutellaria, Sideritis, Stachys, Lamium, and Phlomis, together with Aromastachys. First of all, I would like to explain some morphological characters of Lamiaceae family. The members are perennial or annual herbs with square stems. Some species are woody shrubs or subshrubs. The leaves are typically simple and oppositely arranged. Most are fragrant and contain volatile oils. The flowers are usually arranged in clusters and feature two-lipped. Therefore, it's called Lamiaceae or Labiate family. Actually, this family is rich in the plants with high economic and medicinal value. In early 1990s, research focused mainly on the constituents of the essential oils, including mono and sesquiterpenes. Advanced spectroscopic techniques allowed to isolation of a great variety of non-volatile isoprenoids. When we compare with the plants containing essential oils, some of the plants are rich in non-volatile iridoids, monoterpene lactones, D and 3-terpenoids, and ecdysteroids. There are also some phenolic compounds like flavonoids, anthocyanins, and caffeoyl ester glycosides, with another name, phenylethanoid glycosides. Therefore, this family is an attractive target for many research groups because of their taxonomic significance and biological and pharmacological activities. The high biological diversity, together with the large proportion of plants used traditionally, triggered phytochemical and pharmacognostical studies in drug discovery. Actually, the plant, the Lamiaceae family, is recognized by 12 subfamilies, as we can see here, Lamioides, Scutellaroide, Aigoide, Viticoide, and so on. However, in Turkey, only 5 subfamilies, Lamioide, Scutellaroide, Aigoide, Viticoide, and Nepetoide are found. The plants of these subfamilies are found in the flora of Turkey, as well as in Cyprus. As it has been already discussed by Professor Bashar, Nepetoide, he gave several similar examples from this family, are rich in essential oils. So I have focused in my studies on the other subfamilies. These is some examples from Nepetoide. Therefore, it's called mint family because Thymus, Mentha, Rosmarinus, Salvia, Oreganum are typical genera in this family, together with Lavandula, Ocimum, for example. So I have focused on the other subfamilies like Lamioide, Scutellaroide, and Aegoide. Some of the species which are given here, like Lamium, Maribium, Leonorus, Stachys, Scutellaria, Ayuga, Toicrium, have been studied sometimes for a few species, but Phlomis, for example, was studied for all of the species. So I will give some examples. Why I have focused on these plants? Because most of them are used as herbal plants in the flora of Turkey and even in the Mediterranean countries. Leonorus is one of them. It's a plant, has been used in folk medicine in many countries. In Chinese medicine, the dried aerial parts of the herb, yimu chao, are used Chinese medicine material. Dried fruits is also used. As indicated by the name, the herb, to benefit the mothers, the mother wort, is applied to treat gynecological and obstetrical disorders in China. In European countries, Leonorus species, among them Leonorus cardiaca, are used for treatment of anxiety and heart diseases. Our studies, phytochemical studies, resulted in the isolation of many iridoids, diterpenoids, laptan-type diterpenoids, and phenylethanoid glycosides. Actually, I had interested for taxonomic study on the Lamiaceae plants in respect to their contents for iridoids and phenylethanoid glycosides. Leonorus species, Persicus and Glaucescens, are rich in acobin type and loganin type iridoids. Additionally, phenylethanoid glycosides were also reported. However, Leonorus species were rich in diterpenoids from Leonorus glaucescens. In one of the PhD study of my co-workers and students, a lot of diterpenoids, lactone type, carbon 15, 16 lactones, or carbon 15 epimers. Some secolaptans were isolated. Some phronolaptans, these are prefranolaptans, and delta 8, 9, 13 phronolaptans type diterpenoids were isolated. Officinal species is Leonorus cardiaca. In one of the studies, these compounds, especially phenolic compounds like phenylethanoids, lavandulifolioside, verbascoside, and some other phenolics have been used for quantifying this plant material. As it can be seen here, lavandulifolioside and verbascoside are the main components, additional to some flavonoids and ferulic acid derivatives. Ayuga is another plant from this family. It's a member of Aegoidae, includes over 300 species of annual and perennial herbs in global distribution. Several Ayuga species are used in traditional medicine in the treatment of diabetes, fever, liver problems, malaria, pneumonia, rheumatism, etc. And pharmacological studies reveal that Ayuga possess anti-cancer compounds and exhibit anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, anti-malarial activity. These plants are also rich in active steroids, therefore they are used, these plants are used by sportsmen as a doping material because of their constant adaptogenic properties. Ayuga salicifolia is one of the species studied for the chemical constituents. Acubin type erythroids like harpagit, igor, acetylharpagit, and myporrhizid were isolated from the overground part of this plant material. Additionally, the most interesting compounds were stigmastan type steroidal glycosides, and the side chain, this type of compound shows very interesting epoxidation, as it can be seen here. For example, iugosalicylic A or B, and then the aglycone part, steroid part, iugosalicygenin, shows significant cytotoxic activity against KB HeLa cells. Teucrium species grow in mild climate zones in the Mediterranean basin and Central Asia. They have been used for more than 2,000 years as medicinal herbs. Ethnopharmacological claims include the use of Teucrium species as stimulant, tonics, diaphoretics, diuretics, and for treatments of stomach pain, asthma, amenorrhea, chronic bronchitis, etc. They have also been used as antispasmolytic, hypoglycemic agent, and for central nervous system depressant activities. As I have already explained, I had interest about phenylethanoid contents. Teucriosid with a very rare sugar, lixose as a third sugar on the verbascum unit, was isolated from Teucrium camedris. It is called germander in European countries, containing capsules and tea bag preparations were approved as weight loss remedy in France, although its active ingredients and precise mechanism of action remain unknown. In 1992, French pharmacovigilance authorities reported germander-associated acute, chronic, and even fulminant hepatitis. Teucrium pollium is also another plant or species which is native to the Mediterranean region and the Middle East. Polymosite was isolated. It is also another triglycosidic phenylethanoic glycosides. This plant has been used for different pathological conditions such as gastrointestinal disorders, inflammations, diabetes, and rheumatism. In traditional Iranian medicine, the tea of Timus pollium is used for treating many diseases such as abdominal pain, indigestion, common cold, and type 2 diabetes. From Cyprus, we have studied on Teucrium creaticum. Teucrium species was put in use for the first time by the founder and king of the city of Salamis in Cyprus, whose name Teucer or Teucer is hence associated with the naming of the species as Teucer, Teukri, Teukros, or Teukris. Some phenylethanoids like lavandulifolioside has triglycosidic structure and together with verbascoside were isolated from this plant. Additionally, some acubin type erythroids, 8-deoxytohircosid and 8-acetylharpagit were isolated together with some diterpenoids, neoclaridan type diterpenoids. Similar compounds were also isolated from Teucrium camedris and Teucrium pollium. These are also neoclaridan type diterpenoids, and we assume that these type of diterpenoids are responsible from hepatotoxicity of this plant. Scutellaria is another plant or genus, is widespread in temperate regions and tropical mountains, including Europe, North America, and East Asia. Scutellaria species have been widely used in local medicine for thousands of years. Modern pharmacology research has confirmed that the extracts or monomeric compounds of the genus Scutellaria possess anti-tumor, hepatoprotective, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, anticonvulsant, antibacterial, and antiviral effect. Tıkterlara albida is one of the species which we have studied. Acubin type and Laganin type iridoids were isolated. Additionally, Catalpol, Scutellariosid 1, 2, and mucinosidic acid are other iridoids. A typical example is scalbidosid, because during my 50 years academic year, scalbidosid is the first example which contain alpha D glucose. Mostly we are observing the presence of beta glucose in the glycosidic structures. The genus Deritis, known as mountain tea ironwort, comprises around 150 species, and these plants have been traditionally used as herbal teas in many countries, maybe in every Mediterranean countries, flowering agents in folk medicine, as anti-inflammatory, anti-ulcerative, antimicrobial, antioxidant, anti-spasmodic or spasmodic agents. In Cyprus, there are Sideritis curvidans, perfoliata, and Cypria. It was already explained, some results. In Turkey, it's called dağ çayı or mountain tea. It's used as aperitif and spasmodic. It contains essential oils, diterpenoids, flavonoids, iridoids, and phenylethanoids. However, as I have already explained, the essential oil levels is not so high in comparison to those of Nepetoideae subfamily. In this plant, Sideritis studies performed on Sideritis species resulted in the isolation of anti-CAURAN type diterpenoids, sideritol, isosidol, isolinearol, or sideroxol, for example. 7-epicandicandiol are some of the examples. Sideritis oesterkii, Brevibracteata, stricta, and Cypria are the other species, and we have isolated some diterpenoids and CARAN type diterpenoids, flavon derivatives like chrysoeriol or isoscutellarain, apigenin, metoxyflavone, metxantomicrol are found in some of the Sideritis species, together with phenylethanoids, which are also another phenolic compound groups. 7-acetyl-8-epilogonic acid was also isolated from Sideritis cypria. The distribution of iridoids is not so high in Sideritis species. Stachys is another one in Lamiaceae. This genus includes about 300 species and spread in temperate regions of Mediterranean. In various traditional medicines, they are consumed as herbal preparations for the treatment of stress, skin inflammations, gastrointestinal disorders, asthma, and genital tumors. Comprehensive classification of the genus is categorizing the two subgenera, Betonica and Stachys. This is one of the oldest study performed on Betonica officinalis. I was participated in this structure. It was a subject of PhD thesis in Switzerland. Acubin type iridoids were isolated, and then we have studied a similar plant, Stachys macrantha, collected from Turkey. We have also isolated similar acubin type iridoids like allobetonic acid was characteristic compound containing allose type sugar. Macrantosid is another compound. In addition to these acubin type iridoids, a lot of phenylethanoid glycosides like lavandulifolioside and derivatives were isolated. Lamium in the flora of Turkey, represented by 26 taxon and 15 species, of which 5 taxons and 4 species are endemic. It's also used in folk medicine for different purposes. Lamium album, Lamium muculatum, and Lamium purpureum are some of the species used in Anatolia. In the flora of Cyprus, 7 taxon and 3 species are found: Lamium amplexicauda, Lamium garganicum, and Lamium moschatum. Actually, we have already finished a study on Lamium moschatum, which is resulted in the isolation of some phenolic compounds, flavonoids. Lamium garganicum yielded many Loganin type iridoids collected from Uludağ in Turkey, in addition to many iridoid non-volatile monoterpene derivatives. Lamium eriocephalum, subspecies eriocephalum, yielded also some flavonoids, which are very close structures, very similar structures to those of isolated from Phlomis species. I will represent in the future, in the next slides maybe. Phlomis, actually, it is one of the large genus in the Lamiaceae family, with over 100 species distributed throughout Eurasia and North Africa continents. In Turkey, there are 33, or in the flora of Turkey, 33 species are recorded. So each species, we have studied each species in respect to the contents of iridoids and phenylethanoids. They have various uses that differ from one country to another. Their flowered parts are generally used as an herbal tea to treat gastrointestinal troubles and to promote good health by protecting the liver, kidney, bone, and cardiovascular system. We have isolated several diglycosidic phenylethanoid glycosides. Basic structure is verbascoside or actioside. It contains rhamnose glucose diglycosidic part as a core sugar, in addition to cafe oil ester or caffeic acid esterified on glucose unit, and 3,4 dihydroxyphenylethyl alcohol as a glycon. Beta hydroxyactioside is different because of an additional hydroxyl group on the beta position of a glycon. The other group contains apiose and glucose as sugar unit, and the ester types, ester units or moieties, as well as aglycons, are different in comparison to verbascoside type phenylethanoid glycosides. As 3 glycosidic structures, verbascoside was the core or main structure of the glycosides. Third sugar has been found on the glucose unit, on carbon 6, or on each of the hydroxyl group of rhamnose unit, 2 position, 2, 3, or 4 position, contains different sugars like apiose, arabinose, xylose, rhamnose, and glucose. Among them, phosphoside B was the main component of Phlomis species. Tetrasaccharides or tetraglycosidic phenylethanoid glycosides are very rare in nature. 2 of them were isolated in our studies, one of them from Phlomis physiocalix and the other one Phlomis lunarifolia. Phlomis iridoids also shows or represents different oxidation pattern as shown here. They are derivatives of 8-epidesoxyloganic acid. 20 different type of iridoids have been isolated. A lot of them were new for the science. Caryoptizid, which was isolated only from Phlomis brevibracteata, which was collected from Cyprus. It was subject of PhD thesis of my student Azmi Hanoğlu. And when we classify these iridoids isolated from phloem species, some of them are mucinosid or loganin type, like lamid, ipolamid, phloemiol, lamalbid. The other group B is 8 epiloganin derivatives, like aurosid, pulcellosid 1. And group C is represented only by one example. When we compare this structure with A and B, double bond present in the Piran ring shifted to carbon 4 and 5, between carbon 4 and 5. There are also some sesquiterpenes. However, these sesquiterpenoids are found in the essential oil parts, which were studied by Professor Basher group. Germacran D and beta-carbofuran were the main components or main sesquiterpenoids in the essential oils. Some diterpenoids, amanicadol, which is a pimaran type diterpen isolated from Phlomis amanica. Triterpenoids, very interesting triterpenoids, nortriterpen and spirotriterpen were isolated from Phlomis viscosa. It could be first report as a novel structure for the science. However, only 1 year ago, similar compounds were reported by Chinese group, by one of the Chinese group. Similar compounds were also isolated from Phlomis integrifolia, these procyclic triterpens. These are 28 nor-oleanan derived triterpenoids. Additionally, we have studied Aromastachys species because Aromastachys is also very similar genus to Phlomis, and this study also resulted in the isolation several iridoids isolated, and they are very similar to those of isolated from Phlomis species. The reason of this study to make revision on the structures reported in the literature in a wrong way. So, as a result of these phytochemical studies, I can say that we have isolated some isoprenoids. These are classified as monoterpenoids with 10 carbon atoms, sesquiterpenoids with 15 carbon atoms, and triterpenoids with 20 carbon atoms, together with diterpenoids with 20 carbon atoms, and volatile monoterpenoids were reported in Nepetoide plants, from Nepetoide plants. Iridoids were rich in the other subfamilies like Lamioidae. Sesquiterpenoids are found in the essential oils. Diterpenoids type are laptan, pimaran, encaran, clerodan, and neoclerodan type diterpenoids. And then, as I have already explained, finally, some triterpenoids, spiro derivatives, nor-oleanan type, and stigmastan type sterols are the examples for this group. Phenylpropanoids, as cafe oil ester glycosides, are the typical compounds of these families, subfamilies. And in this group, I didn't give any examples. However, lignans were also isolated. Third group is flavonoids. These are hybrid compounds derived from phenylpropan and acetate metabolism. Mostly flavone glycosides were isolated. So, as a conclusion, these results indicate not only the chemical diversity of the metabolites isolated, but also the potential biological and pharmacological activities of plant of the family Lamiaceae for drug discovery studies. Taken together, these observations show that the members of this family are highly interesting group of plants for further taxonomic, phytochemical, biological, and pharmacological studies. So this is very special days for me and for all of the Turkish populations. I would like to thank Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, and I would like to thank for your kind attention. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much for the valuable presentation, Professor. As our next guest, I would like to invite Professor Dr. ŞÜKRÜ TURAN BEŞIKTEPE from 9 Eylül University, Turkey.
I am trying to share my screen.
Welcome. Welcome, Professor.
Did I share the screen? I cannot see it here.
We cannot see it as well, Professor. Yes, now it's perfectly fine.
Okay, excellent. How does it look now? It's fine?
Full screen. We can see it full screen and it's fine, Professor.
Okay, thank you very much. Hello, everybody. Good morning. I would like to talk, in my talk, I would like to give you the example from the İZMIR Bay, how the coastal ecosystems are under the influences of the anthropogenic and climatic changes. And the İZMIR Bay is located on the Aegean coast of Turkey, which is one of the largest bay in the Mediterranean. Here on the right top of the right part of the screen, you see the overall location of the İZMIR Bay, and this is showing you the distribution of total suspended matter in the water column. As you will see, İZMIR Bay is under the influence of coastal anthropogenic pressures, which creates the very turbid and very productive bay. In İZMIR Bay, and the city of İzmir is located in the innermost part of the bay in this area. On the left, top left, you see the bathymetry of the İZMIR Bay. And the deepest part of the İZMIR Bay is about the 70 meter, and the shallowest part is about the 2 meters in the innermost part. And we can divide the region into 3 parts actually: the inner part, central part, and outer part. In the inner part is separated from the other parts of the basin with the sill, and this sill here restricts the water exchange between outer and the inner parts. And on the bottom of the left, you can see better how the bathymetry and the sill is located. And here in the city of İzmir, and in this part, in the innermost part, there is a port of İzmir, which is the second biggest port in the Turkey. And if you look at if we list what are the key pressures in the coastal ecosystems here, is the first, the chemical and microbial pollution from the different sources, from the ship traffic, from the anthropogenic activities, etc. And the increasing marine transport is adding another complexity to the system, and which I will come. And then there's erosion is the biggest issue, the city of İzmir's domestic discharge is adding another complexity. And on the top of that, we are living through the climate change. Here is the basic oceanographic conditions of the bay. And this is the temperature, salinity, and on the right, you see the model generated currents overlapped on the salinity distribution. It's simply, if you look at the general overall picture, the clean Aegean waters and with the high salinity comes into the basin from this side and then they leave the bay from the other side. And however, as you will see from here, the sill is located in this black line here, restricts the water exchange between inner and outer parts. And this is the temporal variability of the circulation. From the model, you will see how the waters from the Aegean is coming in and then going out. And the one thing is, another thing is this part, the innermost part, is the very shallow, and that's why it's affected very highly from the atmospheric forcing. That means during the winter, this is the very cold as compared to the outer part, and in summer it is warmer as compared to the other parts. And the seasonal variability felt inside the basin is more pronounced than the outer part. And the best thing is to document what are the anthropogenic pressure on the bay is to look at the increase in the population. And here is the picture of the İZMIR, and this is the location, and then the city of İZMIR is located here. If you look at the last 50 years, the population from the 1950s and 60s, there is a 4th time increase in the population in the city of İZMIR. This means the anthropogenic influence is 4 times higher before the urbanization on the city of İZMIR. And this is this shows us, and then it's also if you look at this picture here, all these green areas, once upon a time, all these greens, from green to gray transformation of the area covering the inner part of the bay. And on the top of that, there are climatic pressure in the area. And then this is one of the climate models how the climate will change in the area of city of İZMIR. I present here the 2 examples from this area. One is the wind speed, another is the air temperature. And 4.5 is this is blue line is the repeat climate. If there is no change in the climate, how the wind will look like, the wind speed, and how the temperature will look like in time. But according to the good scenario and the bad scenario, in any scenarios, there will be an increase in the temperature in the last 20, 30 years. And in the good scenario, this will be the more stabilized after 2080, but in the bad scenario, the increase will continue. And if you look at how the climate change in the wind speed, how the wind speed will change during this climatic changes, actually, although there is the small trend, the most important result will be the increase in the extreme weather events in this area. As you will see, this green and red scenarios doesn't show too much difference. And in both cases, in the next 20, 40 years, we will live through the extreme weather events, extreme winds. More stronger winds will be observed in the area. And in order to observe how this climatic and anthropogenic changes affect the İZMIR Bay, we established the coastal ocean observing system in the bay at the 5 stations. The 2 in the inner part, the Bostanlı and the Passport, and the 1 in the Güzelbahçe, and the another 2 is in the Karaburun and in the Foça in the outer port. These were to observe what's going on in the Aegean. These were to observe the inner bay, and this is for the central bay. Now, this, in order to see the effect of the climate change, you need at least 30 years of data to see how the trend evolving in time. Because when you talk about the climate change, we are talking about the trend. And then we have to, the most difficult thing is to differentiate these climatic changes from the natural oscillations or the anthropogenic changes. And in order to do that, you need a long-term time series. Unfortunately, we do not have long-term time series, and then this is established in the last, and we have the data for the last 10 years. And then in order to see how the changes occurs, climatic changes, we need more longer time series data. However, and we can get some information from this 4 or 5 years of time series data. And then looking at the interannual variability of the sea properties. And here, I am representing you the 3 stations. This is the Passport, Bostanlı, and the Güzelbahçe. If you look at the map here, Bostanlı is here. It's Bostanlı and Passport is in the inner bay, and Güzelbahçe is in the central bay. I'm considering the Güzelbahçe as a reference, and looking at how the anthropogenic and the climatic influence can be seen in the inner bay stations. And then if you look at the scales, in order to compare all these 3 graphs, I have chosen the same scales for all parameters here. And that's why you may not be able to see how the chlorophyll changes in the Güzelbahçe, because I am using the same scale as the other parts. If we look at if you look at the temperature, sea temperature in the Passport and the Bostanlı, I noticed one important feature. If you look at the 2018, and this is 2018 the winter, this is 2017 winter, and this is 2019 winter. And the 2018, we were living through the warm period, and you can also see in the top, at least the 2018 was 2 degrees warmer than the other years, especially in our years, is from the 2017. And using this information, we can understand what will be the increasing temperature in the world climate will affect the İZMIR Bay's ecosystem structure. And if you look at here, and here is the chlorophyll. This is the one of the parameters is the phytoplankton, indicator of the phytoplankton, and also indicator of the eutrophication. And here, if you look at you can see easily the difference between 2018 and the 2017. Here we have the winter bloom, and we have the summer bloom here. But if you look at the 2018, following the winter bloom, we have a continuous eutrophication in the bay. That means the warming, I will come to the other points, the factors later, but the warming in both the cases increase the eutrophication in the bay. This is not much studied in the world, but there are one study in the North Sea showing that increased temperature of the seawater increases the stratification, and then the stratification leads to more production, which is ultimately result in the eutrophication. And if you look at the and then this affect the water pH, and then this affect the water dissolved oxygen, which is clearly seen here. And then with the increase in the production, the dissolved oxygen in the water column decreases. It also increases the turbidity in the seawater as compared with the other years, 2019 and the 2017. It is where the water mass becomes more turbid because of the high primary production in the area. And with this one, if we look at the details and the other factors in the area, here is you see in the top, you see the chlorophyll distribution from 2 stations in the inner bay, and this is the wind, and this is the river flux. And I forgot to mention, in the inner part of the bay, we have something like a 33 small creeks, which they are dry rivers. They're only active during the rainy seasons. And this is the measurement is taken in this one of these rivers, showing you how the rivers active and then how they are changing interannual variability. Here is if you look at the chlorophyll and the wind relations, and then the differences between 2018 and the other years, you can easily see that you can during the 2018, the northerly winds during the winter period was more than the other years. And that this is probably causing, it's just a speculation, causing more winter mixing in the basin, which is resulting in increase in the winter, the production, and the leading higher eutrophication. The river influx, although overall it doesn't show too much difference, but during the 2018, the river influx was active during almost all years till the end of June, July. And another problem, in addition to the eutrophication, another problem is the coastal inundation. And there are 2 components of the coastal inundation. One of them is the flash floods, which we started to face in the recent years, and another one is the storm surges. And I will not talk about the flash floods, but I will talk about the storm surges, which is treating the city of İzmir Bay is very much during these years. And the storm surges is causing by the 3 factors. One of them is the inverse barometer effect, which is the decrease in the atmospheric pressure leads to increase in the water level. And another one is the wind direction. Another one is the current. And one of the examples, which is the good examples we caught in our observing system, is the March 2013 case. If you look at here, this is the sea level. The blue line is the sea level in the Passport Inner Bay Station. And this is on the central the bay, and the green is the atmospheric pressure. As you will see, atmospheric pressure in the day of March 14, atmospheric pressure dropped by almost 10 millibars. That means that that resulted in increase about the 10 centimeters in the water column. And if you look at, this is the wind. If you look at the wind was blowing from the south, and then on the day of 14, it turned to the west. And this caused immediate increase from the average 35 centimeter sea level, from the mean sea level, to the 80 centimeters increase. And what we found from the analysis, that the threshold for the coastal inundation is 65 centimeters. If it passes over the 65 centimeters, city of İzmir will be flooded. And then here we reach to the 80 centimeters. And following this coastal the flooding due to the storm surge, and the next day, in the March 15, there was a flash flood, and then the combination of these two created the disaster in the city of İzmir, as you will see from the pictures here, that all the city was flooded for about the 2 days during this period. And what will be the reason for that? Actually, the one reason is when the southerly winds is blowing. When the winds is blowing from the south, and which is called, it's due to the different reference system in meteorology and oceanography. Northerly winds means the winds blowing to the north. This is the oceanographic terminology. If it blows from the south, it moves all the water to the inner bay. And here, as you remember, there is a sill, and then these waters is pushed into the inner bay, cannot leave easily, and then stays there longer and accumulates, which is resulting in the coastal flooding, increasing the sea level, and then the coastal inundation. Even without the wind, the local wind, the wind in the Aegean Sea, when it is blowing strongly from the south, it also accumulates the water and into the bay, and the results in the increase in the sea level. And what the climate will affect this. And if you look at this is the sea level, which is the more than 30 years of record of sea level in the central part of the bay, you can easily see the increasing trends. And this trend is calculated as about the 4 millimeter per year. That means every 10 years, there will be a 4 centimeter increase in the last 50 years. We are going to observe at least 5-6 centimeter increase in the sea level. And we calculated what will be the effect and the return period, and from this data, what will be the return period of the coastal flooding in the İzmir Bay. If you look at if you remember, the threshold in the bay is about 0.6 meters on the sea level. That means if the sea level exceeds the 0.6 meters, we will have a 0.65 meters. We will have the coastal flooding in the bay. And if you look at the present situation, this will occur if in normal case. This is from the past data. This will happen every 20 years. That means we are expecting the increase in the sea level leading to a coastal flooding will occur every 20 years. However, if we look at the increase in the climate change, and then adding this increase, and then making a forecast for the future, this flooding will occur every 2 years. And this is a normal, this is the natural phenomena, but with the climate change, we will observe the coastal flooding every 2 years in the near future instead of 20 years. And then just to mention about the Eastern Mediterranean, this increase in the sea level will affect especially mostly in the northeasternmost part of the Eastern Mediterranean, including the Cyprus in this area, the dark black lines, the island of Cyprus, and then the northeasternmost part of the Eastern Mediterranean is under the threat of the sea level rise, and then we will start to see also in the island of Cyprus some coastal flooding due to the storm surges. What will be the solution for this problem? As I said, this is the bathymeter of the bay, and then there is a sill here, and then this restricts the water exchange, and then causing the eutrophication here because of the high residence time of the water here. And also incoming waters cannot leave easily, accumulates here, and then the coastal floods occur. And now the solution will be to decrease in the short term, to decrease the residence time of the water in the easternmost the bay. And what we proposed here, the first thing you can do, you can remove you can deepen this channel here, which allows to the more water coming in, but at the same time, you can make a dredging in this part to let the water leave easily the waters. And this was our proposal, and the optimum way to increase the water circulation inside the inner bay. And here, this is the modeling efforts. You will see here. You will see how this dredging in this part will affect the circulation, as you will see here, which is increasing remarkably. And if you look at the increase and the deepening of the channel here, will increase the incoming waters into the basin, into the inner part of the bay. And if you look at the fluxes in meter per second, how these fluxes will change after this engineering operations. This is the present situation. Is if you talk about the 1 meter per second, 1,000 meters per second inflow to the basin. If we deepen here, and then they make the dredging in the northern part, and we are observing 40% increase in the water circulation. That means 40% decrease in the residence time of the inner bay, which will be immediate solution in the short term for the problems of this coastal area. If I come to the conclusion, in the world, we are having two major challenges now. One of them is increased population, and the second one, increased waste. And in addition to the man-made influence, we also have, even it is a man-made influence, in the long-term trend, we have the climate change. And the climate change is not creating the new problem, but the climate change pronouncing the already existing problems, which is making life difficult for us. What will be the solution for this? And we have to learn how to live in harmony with nature. We cannot compete with the nature. We have to learn how to live with this climate change and how to avoid this waste, and then how to feed the increased population. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Professor Dr. ŞÜKRÜ Turan Beşiktepe from 9 Eylül University, Turkey. Unfortunately, Professor Grishayeva is not here with us at the moment. Maybe she will join to perform her presentation later in the second session. As I check, we don't have any questions at this moment as well. Therefore, I would like to announce that this is the end of the first session, and the next session will begin at 11:30 a.m. Many thanks to all professors who have joined and honored us in the session, and hope to see you in the next session. Goodbye.
catching a buzz.